Want to get right to the latest on Hurricane Milton making landfall as a Category 3 storm. It brought flood emergencies, punishing winds, and multiple tornadoes. The wind so strong it ripped the roof off Tropicana Field. That's the home of the Tampa Bay Rays. And the Milton also brought substantial flooding to the streets of Fort Myers. Right now, more than 3 million homes and businesses are without power. Even as the storm is moving offshore, emergency officials are warning residents to shelter in place.
And now for the latest on Milton's track, our first alert weather team standing by for you this morning. Tony Sadiku and John Elliott both. Let's begin with John. John?
And you know, Chris and Mary, they do so much more than just baseball at Tropicana Field. That is devastating. Let's just dive right in and show you what's going on right now. You still see a well-defined storm, the brighter colors indicating the heavy rain. Going to see a little bit more banding and training rain through Orlando. You've got more significant wind closer to the coast. That's Daytona Beach. You still see a Category 1 hurricane at 85 miles an hour. It is flying, though. It's moving out northeast at 18 miles an hour. That is the good news. The other news with this storm, the big numbers in so many ways. So I want to send it in to meteorologist Tony Sadiku for a look back and kind of put it in perspective with what this storm has already served up. Hi, Tony.
Yeah, John, the numbers have been impressive. I mean, the storm as a whole, right? Everything from the tornado outbreak we saw to the big winds. I mean, thankfully, we just kind of get the sense a lot of people took this storm seriously after Helene. So hopefully no loss of life. Have yet to hear anything on that. But there you go. Cat 3 at 8:30 p.m. Landfall near Siesta Key. So the storm moved south of Tampa Bay, which lessened the surge impacts there. However, what's better news for somebody is worse news for somebody else. And of course, big impacts for parts of Sarasota County. Also very populated areas. And the tornado reports, my goodness, over 40 reports, over 130 warnings, many folks still without power. The impacts and the aftermath just beginning for a lot of those folks down there, Chris and Mary.
And, Tony, the massive storm pouring torrential rains on large parts of Florida, including the Tampa area.
Christian Benavides is there live and joins us now. Christian, what are you seeing there?
Chris and Mary, good morning. Here in the Tampa Bay area, this was primarily a wind event. That's why you saw the roof off of Tropicana Field. There was also a crane that fell in St. Petersburg. All of this debris is from Hurricane Helene. To give you a sense of where we're located, we're around the corner from Tampa General Hospital. So if you'll recall that viral video of the floodwaters going up against the flood wall that they had set up there, that barrier, that is where we're located, and clearly we're not seeing that same level of flooding that they had during Helene. There was so much concern that all of this debris could potentially clog up the storm drains, but they do appear to be working in this part of Tampa. Now, I will say that Milton made landfall about an hour south of us, and typically it is south of that where you're seeing some of that life-threatening storm surge. You think of communities like Fort Myers Beach, or you think of communities like Sanibel Island that were absolutely destroyed and decimated 2 years ago by Hurricane Ian. All of them still recovering, and we're in a wait and see once the sun is up to wait and see how they were affected by Milton.
Chris, John, and let's head south now, an hour from Tampa to Bradenton, Florida.
CBS News national weather correspondent and meteorologist Rob Marciano is there live for us. Rob, good morning to you. What are the conditions like where you are right now?
Well, hey, Chris and Mary. Well, thankfully, a lot more calm than they were just about 6 hours ago. But obviously, the damage has been done here in the Sarasota and Bradenton area. This is where the storm came ashore, where Hurricane Milton came ashore as a Category 3, about half a mile that way towards Siesta Key, the official landfall. That barrier island is locked down. Officials will have to check out the Causeway Bridge later on today, get engineers out there to see what the structural damage, if any, is to that. We've got some trees down around this area. This part of Florida, the tree height is relatively low. Where the tree height is, unusually high, maybe a tall pine like this one, well, they come down. All right, they don't do well here at all. Palm trees and lower shrubbery that's very good for hurricanes, and that kind of vegetation has done very well. But this one, all the way down, blocking this street. This is one of the many neighborhoods that is without power. I think you threw the number out there, over 3 million across the state. And that's going to be a long time before folks can get that kind of stuff up and running. But obviously still dark here, guys. So, you know, exactly how much damage this storm brought is still yet to be seen. The winds really have just died down in the last hour or two as well. So it was a very rough night. Let me tell you that.
Rob, before we let you go, just want to talk about the concerns about the storm surge in that area. Any idea how bad it got?
It's, you know, we can't get close enough to the water to see that, but from this point down to the south, that's where that's where you saw your highest storm surge. Here across down through Punta Gorda, Charlotte Bay, and up through that area, that's the area where we saw surge maybe 10 or 11 feet, and that's where you saw some of the more dramatic video. But between here and there, you know, a little less populated towns, but there's inlets and bays there, and I suspect that we'll see damage from some of the storm surge down just south of here as well.
All right, Rob Marciano live for us this morning. Rob, thank you. Good to see you. Now, we are getting a closer look this morning at the devastation caused by Milton. Derek Waller joins us live now from the newsroom with the latest video coming out of Florida right now. Derek?
Chris, just some dramatic video that we're seeing already this morning after a Hurricane Milton made landfall as a dangerous Category 3 near Siesta Key, south of Sarasota, bringing with it 120-mile-an-hour winds and intense rain, already causing major damage. In fact, check out this video in Tampa, another vantage point of video we showed you earlier where the fabric roof of the iconic Tropicana Field, home of the Tampa Bay Rays, is now ripped off. This had been a staging area for National Guard troops and linemen, but the governor says they had already been relocated. Despite not making a direct hit, the Tampa area is also seeing pounding rain and intense wind. Now, further south in Sarasota, there is extreme flooding, roads looking more like rivers. This morning, we are actually hearing from an ER doctor about the conditions right now.
The wind is whipping. It is super loud. The rain is super, it's pounding the windows and the doors. We've had to kind of put towels up because some of the water is starting to just leak in from below. The ambulances have just stopped running.
And the damage already spreading across the state to the East Coast, where in Fort Pierce, officials say multiple people were killed when tornadoes ripped through this Spanish Lakes Country Club village. Now, more widespread flooding expected, isolated tornadoes, damaging winds. The FEMA administrator actually spent the night in Florida, though. She says she is ready to deploy resources right away. Chris?
All right, Derek Waller, live in our newsroom. Derek, thanks. So be sure to stay with CBS News New York for the very latest as Hurricane Milton continues to move through the state. We'll have more live reports throughout the morning and push alerts on the free CBS News app.